Hello and welcome to the last day of the launch live workshop. I was going to trip on my words here for a little sec. I hope you're having an amazing Friday. I am obviously, I am pumped. I've been doing my little happy dance all day. So if you're watching, let me know into the comments. If you're watching live, if you're watching the replay, let me know that you can hear me and see me okay and say hi. Today we have some really special things coming your way, of course, including prizes, epic speakers. I am legit pumped. Um, and so just some more goodies coming your way, some more knowledge bombs. It is exciting. Okay, so today I want to start by inviting everyone to collaborate. So collaborate into the comments, drop all of your links of what you have to offer, introduce yourself in the Facebook group. Just take the advantage of collaborating. Hello, Melissa. So awesome that you can join live 5 days in a row. That's amazing. It's amazing to see you here. So I want to invite you to collaborate. Drop your Instagram link, your YouTube link, your blog links. If you have a blog, drop your freebie links. Let us know how you help people. Collaborating is a complete game changer in entrepreneurship because it allows you to grow bigger and faster. It allows you to be less alone. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, the people that surround you is the reason that you don't quit when things get hard because you get a talking to. Not in a mean way. That sounded very that sounded very momish. But you get it straight, right? You're gonna be told like, don't give up. You got this. Sometimes you just hear what you need to hear from the peers, from the people that you're collaborating with, from the people that you've met in the entrepreneurship. I think that there is something very special about people who want to launch their business online, for the people that have the guts to try something new, for the people that are just ready to put themselves out there and to build the life of their dream. Um, so I want to invite you today, next week, the following weeks, but let's start with today with some small steps. I want to invite you to collaborate. Now, this week we've learned some epic shit. Seriously, we've learned a lot about mindset, collaborating, we've learned about launches, but we've also learned a lot about marketing. We've learned about everything, maybe a little bit of tech. Maybe you're super clear and super motivated about this week that you don't even need anybody's help and you are good. You're good to launch, and that is a beautiful thing. So today we have some more epic speakers. So after I talk a little bit more about your welcome sequence, we're going to be having Alex Leanne Carter. We're going to talk about how you can go from scarcity to abundance. And it's going to be a very special chat. And I invite you to ask any questions. I did share with Alex a few of the comments that came in from the Facebook group, from fear to time management to there's a lot more. We'll talk about it later. And then we have a chat. Okay, like legit, listen to the title of this interview. $1.65 billion in sale in 12 hours using live stream. Who does not want to just be there and not miss this? It's going to be incredible. And then we are going to talk about the benefit of being a resource manager and the 10 tips to be an amazing guest on podcasts. Being a guest on podcasts, being a guest on blogs, being collaborating is if you have not noticed, a huge part of what I'm teaching. So I am thrilled to be talking about that. So throughout the week, we've talked about your freebie. We've talked about creating a quick funnel, which I just got a text. Apparently, I put it in my husband's YouTube instead of mine. I will change that right after. And you can go create a simple funnel. But the truth is, you could sign up to any of these systems, spend 30 minutes just, you know, looking around and figure it out because they are very simple. But I did do the whole training, so I will put it on my YouTube. This is what you get when you work with wine. So So shit happens. It's all good. Now, a welcome sequence and a nurture sequence is really, really important. Now, anyways, so little squirrel moment. So it can feel overwhelming, and I totally get it, right? What am I going to say? How often do I have to send an email? What do I say in the emails? And I absolutely get it. We can get, if you have some questions on how to create content for your email, but you're already putting out there so much content, whether you're doing one-on-one, whether you're doing group coaching, whether you're posting on a Facebook group, whether you're posting on Instagram, whether you have a podcast, a blog, all of this is content that can be put on an email list, on an email, sorry. Now, how often should you nurture your list? Well, after your initial welcome sequence, you want to stay consistent. You want to create the feeling that you're always going to be there, but not just that, but you want to be, it's okay for them to expect your email. So let's say that you are new. If this is creating too much anxiety around the content, you can start and send a newsletter once a month. Okay, and then you can move it to once a week. If you already have a lot of content out there because you've been doing this for years and you have content on all of your social media platforms, then go ahead and go once a week. And the best advice that I can give you is to write them all at the same time and schedule them so you don't have to overthink, you don't have to stress during the month, but to stay consistent. So if you decide that you're going to send them a message every week, then you send them a message every week. My other tip is to stay consistent with the day of the week. Typically, my emails will do better from Tuesday to Thursday. It could be different for your audience. Thursday to Thursday are very popular. If you do any research or Google it, it will give you the similar answer. It is possible that your audience is slightly different, so that could come within your market research and to ask when they like to receive emails. But honestly, Tuesday to Thursday, don't overthink it. Pick a day. And stay consistent with that day. A few tips for your emails as well is always build up, okay? Don't just drop bombs. Don't just like, hey, I'm launching. It's the same thing. Hey, I'm gonna be into your inbox tomorrow and I'm gonna let you know XYZ. So imagine that I dropped into your inbox today and I tell you at the end, hey, this week I'm gonna be into your inbox every 2 days. Let's say this is the welcome sequence. I'm going to be in your inbox every 2 days, and I'm going to give you this information, this information, this information. So, for example, on Tuesday, I'm going to give you the top 10 books that you can read online for free that is going to help you with your business in 2022. On Thursday, I'm going to drop into your inbox and I'm going to give you all the tools that I have found online that you can use for free. And then, I don't know, what are we, Thursday? And then Saturday, I'm going to drop into your inbox and I'm going to give you something else that could be epic, could be all of the platform where you can find free videos, free pictures, and music online to help you with your content. So if you're anything like me, this is exciting. So the goal is truly to be excited for your ideal customer. So what do they want? Right? But if I tell you that I'm going to be into your inbox and I have received these emails and this shit works, okay? So if you're truly excited about what they have to give, you're going to be waiting for those emails to pop into your inbox. So you don't have to be secretive. If you have something coming and it's not launching yet, you can literally, title could be as easy as, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be telling you this, but I just can't wait, right? Because if you're like me, like literally, I can't even wait till Christmas. I would say that every single Christmas that my kids have had, they've opened their presents earlier because I literally can't wait. And I can pretty much guarantee that they'll open some before Christmas. I'm losing my voice. I'd say I'm talking too much, but that's literally not possible for me. Okay, so always give them an expectation. Always let them know of what's coming. Always little drop hints here and there into your emails. Now, if you are not if you're a visual person, my apologies. If you're a visual person, grab your, I don't know where they are. They're never far. Grab your post-it notes and use any surface that you have and literally do a timeline. Do a timeline. So, okay, so let's say I am launching in 4 weeks. Well, I want to drop hints on this email, and this email. So, create yourself the visual that you need to be able to feel less overwhelmed, that type of stuff. Okay. So I'm going to drop in case anybody wants to sign up for it and get the document here. And then we're going to talk about your nurture sequence. You can tell I live for this shit, right? All right, so your nurture sequence was just dropped into your inbox. All right. So we are going to talk about what should be included into your nurture sequence. All right. I didn't want to go with anything that was too much, too elaborate, too much. You know, when you have to put too much thinking or too much into one little project when you're starting, is when you feel overwhelmed. So we start with the basic and we grow from there. So this nurture sequence is a rinse and repeat system. It's a plug and play. You can use it however you want. It is quite beautiful. So this basic nurture sequence is 5 emails. Now, those emails can be once every day. Those emails can be once every 2 days. Those emails can be once every 3 days. You're in the nurture sequence. Now, so typically somebody would sign up for your newsletter, sign up for your freebie. You would then send them the nurture sequence. I highly, highly recommend that you sign up MailerLite, ConvertKit, MailChimp. There's so many out there that are free to get you started. Just get started because these will allow you to create automation. The one that I'm dropping on YouTube is ConvertKit, and I will do one for MailChimp, one for MailerLite as well. And if there's anything that you don't know how to do and you don't want to spend the time on how to do it, all you have to do is send me an email. I will post a video on YouTube within a week on how to do whatever you need. It is literally this easy. This is literally why I created that YouTube channel that I'm just starting, obviously. Okay, so you have your nurture sequence. And then after the nurture sequence, they would be dumped into the sequence of your newsletter. You'll find that as you grow your email list and as you grow your business, there will be more than a nurture sequence and a newsletter. You may have a sales sequence. You might have, so if you have something that is evergreen, if you've ever heard of this term, evergreen means that you're always accepting people into your program or you're always selling product. Although a product does not have to be available all year long. So it's not because you're a product-based business that you might be selling, all of your product all year long. So an evergreen sequence is something that you sell all year long, and it has more like 20-ish emails. If that is you and you're curious, literally just send me an email. I'll help you out and I'll send you mine, or I'll send you a quick, send this. No problem. I love sharing. All right, so let's go back to our basic nurture sequence. It has 5 emails. One email is going to be a question. One email is going to be a link. 3 emails is pure value. Now, you know me, I love the Build-A-Bear situation because we're all different. So these emails you can use in whatever order that you want, and you can rinse and repeat. Okay, so you would use the same 5 emails in different orders at other times. And you can see maybe one order works better than the other. So let's start with the question. The question email is meant for you. Think about it as market research. You know, everything is market research. Everything is to make your business better. It's not being creepy. It's just understanding what your customer wants and need so that you can literally have a business that runs with a purpose and not a hobby that doesn't pay. So you ask a question to know more about your audience. Now, here's where the magic happens. When you ask a question, they can reply. If they reply to your email during your nurture sequence, it whitelists their emails so you no longer end up into their spam folder. So one, that's freaking beautiful. Two, you get to know more and you're opening the door to a conversation. So I guess we have not talked about script and selling within this workshop, but if you sign up for the secret workshop that it's on Tuesday, I'm handing out my sales scripts. So you really, really do not want to miss this workshop. I have some really special, cool stuff planned for that workshop. So when you ask a question, you open the door to an answer. You open the door to a conversation. You open the door to a warm lead. So if they enter your welcome sequence, so they're getting warmer, they're getting to know you, and by having that conversation, you can turn them into a hot leads. Amazing. So there's 3 emails that are pure value. You want to avoid putting links into these emails because it's not their purpose. The purpose is just to drop some gold nuggets into their inbox. There's no other goal than giving pure value. And I guarantee you that these emails work really, really well because there's no agenda. There's no feeling like you're just going to sell them later. You're literally just there to provide value. And then the last one is a link. So I want to give you a tip after on organizing these. The link is depending on the season that you're in. Are you just nurturing? Are you growing a platform in particular? Are you in a launch? So the link depends. So if I was into a launch or I was into an evergreen type of system, the link could be to a webinar, to watch the webinar. The link can be to one of your social media. The links could be if you have a YouTube and you're growing your YouTube platform. So the link could be to a really awesome YouTube video that would really also provide them value, but they're going to go subscribe. So it could be a subscription to your social media. It can be a link to book a call. It can be a link to a webinar. It can be it's a link. It's a link to, it could be a link to sell. It can be going into a sales sequence. It is totally up to you in the season that you're in. Now, this brings me to how you organize your email, and I do have some examples after. So it's really, really, really important that you don't just create a welcome sequence and just leave it there, forever hold your peace and see what happens. Because you're always into it different. So I love to keep track of all my funnels, and I do that in a very visual way. For me, it is literally a notebook with pictures, but this is completely up to you. You need to be aware of all the sequences and all the links. So basically, you're keeping track of where the links are. Why? Because they might need to be updated. So monthly, I actually go into my system and I make sure that all the links are where I want them to be, right? So I might actually go back to my nurture sequence and change the links. So I do that monthly so that the information is always correct. I don't have any funnels that goes to something else instead of what I'm promoting or what I'm doing that month. It goes right in line with my goals, right? So I have my goals set for the month and I'm making sure that everything I do is towards that goal. So it's really, really important to stay organized. Can't keep that, like, stay organized. Take a little bit of time to stay organized is key. Now, let me give you just like a little few examples of what that nurture sequence could look like. So one could be, okay, you're giving epic value. So I'm sending you I'm working on the document right now, so it's coming up to mind. 101 ways, 101 resources, free resources for entrepreneurs. So this could be my value number one. So I am just dumping some awesome value. Good morning. Awesome value into the email. Sorry. And then the second one, well, that could be a question. Now I want to know, how many hours do you work per week? Now, typically, when I personally ask this question as a business coach, mentor, I want to know how many hours you work total. If you have a 9 to 5 job, if you have an entrepreneur's job, I want to know it all because it matters. Because if you tell me you work 2 hours like a day, but you also have a 9 to 5 job, this matters to me a lot. And then let's say the third email can be value. So the second piece of value, I'm going to drop, maybe my launch calendar. And then the fourth email is going to be value again. And I'm going to give you something like the best book that you can read for free online to grow your business in 2022. Or maybe I'm going to give you a list of resources where you can get free courses, and always keep learning, because I think that is very important to always keep learning. And then the fifth email, I'm going to send you a link. And I'm going to send you a link to a really cool webinar where you can learn, let's say, for example, how to make sales, right? How to actually get clients. So if you were to go through that sequence and you are part of, you're looking for launching, you're looking to get clients, well, you're an entrepreneur and you know which direction to go, and you're going to be really, really interested into getting through that sequence. Once you get to the webinar, well, that's where the selling happens, right? Whether they want to join or not, completely irrelevant. You gave so much value into that welcome sequence, and that count into a long run. If they're not ready, they're not ready. There's no hard feelings. There's no problem. You just keep going, keep giving the value. And if you are, I want to sound, if you're a creeper like me, you're always watching. I'm not always commenting. I'm not always the best. I do set aside times because sometimes I do get lost into the comments and start chatting depending on the mood that I'm in. But I want to give you an example. I signed up to this amazing coaching a while back, and I got one email welcoming me from the team, one email from the coach, and I got a text message, and I felt so good. It felt good. I did not answer any of them. It's a crazy week. My son was sick. Anyways, the mom life, right? I didn't answer any of them, but it made me feel really good, and it made me feel really happy. So that welcome sequence is key. So I did put that into the comments here. I don't know that I put it on Facebook. So we're going to do that so that everybody that is listening can get that. Oh, here I am, my big face. Oh, that pasted weird. Okay. I got this. Here you go. Copy. I mean, you would think that's not that hard. I got it. So if you have any questions on the welcome sequence, if you have any question on email marketing, if you have any question on your newsletter, now is the time to drop it into the comments. Now, I'm super excited for today. I just need to grab some water. Now, I am super, super excited because I have something really, really epic for everybody that is watching. So whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay, I want you to send me an email. Now I'm going to put my email into the chat. whatif@sophieriley.ca. I want you to send me an email, and I want you to send me your mailing address so I can send you a Christmas present. I don't know if there's a bug or it's my hair. I'm going to send you a Christmas present. I have a whole bunch of Christmas presents to send. So the first 10 people to hit my inbox literally will be sent Christmas presents from my favorite books, from my favorite planner. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been into Chapters lately, but I don't think I'm allowed to go there anymore. Anyways, don't tell my husband. So I have so many presents. I have them all boxed up and I'm ready to send some presents. So if you're here, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time for you to grow your business, because I could feel it as the magic is happening. 2022, it is your year. I'm slightly excited. Now, you have your freebie, you have your nurture sequence, you are all good. You're literally all good. If you feel like there's anything missing, if you feel like yes, yes. Awesome. If you feel like you're missing anything, now is your time to speak up. To reach out, to ask for help. You can always reach out in the collaboration Facebook group. Just ask your question. The only thing that I'm asking is don't be stuck, and don't do it alone, because there is a lot of people out there that are here to help you. Now, I'm going to talk slightly less because our first guest is here. Let me just bring Alex Leanne on. Hello, Alex. How are you?
I'm great, Sophie. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly fine. Yay! How are you? I'm so happy that you are here. Alex is coming on to talk about scarcity to abundance. I'm really excited. I did share a few of the comments that came into the Facebook group because a lot of them are going to relate to a conversation we can literally have this morning. So, Alex, before we jump in, would you like to tell everybody just a little bit more about you?
Yeah, so welcome. I guess I'm saying welcome. I'm so used to hosting events, right? I'm so used to saying welcome. So I am Alexandra Carter. I am the founder and creator of Ambition Unleashed, and I work with female high achievers that really have that $1 million goal, that $1 million dream to neurohack their productivity and really truly become unleashed. So being able to really tap into that internal passion and purpose, like I'm not sure if Sophie mentioned, like I helped Sophie, and really be able to build a life and business on your own terms of your dreams, and really being able to tap into your brain to be able to support you in creating that process. Because the reality is you do have it in you. It's just the brain and the wiring that's going on up here that actually stops you and prevents you and holds you back from truly becoming unleashed and unstoppable and creating that life and business that you get to create. So yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, we can ask Alex right now and see the face that she gives us, but how much resistance did I have to a mindset coach? We just laugh about this.
Oh, the resistance was real. Like, I mean, I give the example all the time about like the resistance that we experience is like pushing a boulder up the mountain. Well, Sophie's resistance was so hard that she wasn't even like able to push because the boulder was so big that it was just like, I'm not moving. So with a lot of conversations and just working with me and little by little, trusting the process and doing, a little bit of work at the time, because that's the big thing when it comes to the brain. It's really trusting the process. So yeah, so for Sophie, it did take a few months, and then finally she was like, all right, I give in, help me. And after she was able to say yes to herself, right, able to lean into the fears and the resistance that was coming up for her, we are now sitting here, a year later with Sophie on the other side of this, screen with you guys, and has hosted this phenomenal event for you guys. And this wouldn't have been possible unless she said yes to herself, right? And let herself stay focused to her goal and dreams. And this is a big thing. And I shared this quote with Sophie a couple weeks back, and it was a quote that a mentor shared with me. It was, it's don't change your goals, don't change your intentions, just change your mind. Change the operating system behind what's creating the resistance that's stopping you from truly creating, that life and business that you want to be able to create. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is literally my favorite quote now that I use all of the time because even I've said this a lot. I love big things. I do things in a big way, but there's a lot of times in the planning, and I'm just like, am I just crazy? Like, what was I thinking? These comes up all the time, and I had this moment, and I texted Alex, which is when she told me, she's like, nah, you're going for it. And so that was awesome. And yeah, we talked on Monday about the fact that I honestly thought that mindset was what people told you when you failed. Well, just change your mindset. Like we're just going to blame it on the mindset. And it's not that it's not true, but it's not that it's mindset, but it's literally everything that we have in our subconscious that are going on autopilot that you don't even realize that are stopping you. But Alex is the first person who's put it into words that my really pig-headed brain was willing to accept. So we'll just put it that way. I am pig-headed. I know this.
Well, and what you said there, Sophie, and this is why I love working with female high achievers. Now, first of all, a lot of the female high achievers I work with don't even recognize themselves as a female high achiever. We just think this is who we are. We just think that life is meant to be, or we're meant to experience this resistance, this push, right? Which leads to this exhaustion because we are high achievers and because we have it internally in us to create big things. Like we strive off the achievement. We almost in a way strive off the push a little bit, but what we need to be careful, and this is what I learned when I burnt out, was that I was pushing so much. And again, I give the example before, it's like living every single day like you're pushing a boulder up a mountain. Now, eventually you get exhausted. Like, eventually your body does find a way to let you know that it's burning out. And burnout shows in a variety of different places. I know Sophie had experienced a burnout and she didn't even realize it. To be honest with you, when I experienced my burnout, I didn't realize it either until months later. And I was like, oh my goodness, I started learning and diving into learning more about the high achiever brain and like how it shows up for us and what it looks like. It was like, oh my goodness, I got here because of the stories and beliefs I had that existed in my brain, because of this scarcity mindset of I need to do more, and I don't have enough time, and this pressure. And on a balloon, if you keep pressing on a balloon, what eventually happens to it? You guys can drop the chat. It pops, right? Because we are driven by that. We are driven by the achievement. So when we have these beliefs that are running an opposite of where we want to get to, that's what we create. We create this pressure, and eventually we do pop, and it shows up in a variety of different ways because we're so driven by that result and the success that we want to create. That's where we have our focus, which is great. But we're out of alignment by a lot of things that are around us, which then creates that tension and that pressure. And what I've been able to learn and help Sophie and with my clients and myself is relieve the pressure to have your brain work for you. So you don't have to feel the self-doubt. So you don't have to self-sabotage your success, because your brain is a smart muscle. It starts to notice patterns. It starts to see, oh, you thrive off this pressure, so let me create more pressure for you. But then the body is like, no, brain, what are you doing? I can't handle this pressure. Like, I need rest. I need to have space. I need to be able to focus. I need time to have fun, right? Like our bodies are only really programmed to work so many hours in a day, and we do actually really need sleep. I know, as much as we might hear like, oh, we'll sleep when we're dead and that kind of thing, our body actually cannot function, right, without that. And we oftentimes, because we're so driven, we end up skipping out on our workouts, on our health, on our self-care, on our nutrition. We pour into everybody else around us while also achieving for big things. And guess what? Our bodies start to communicate to us in a variety of ways, which eventually gets to a potential burnout because you're not able to refuel. I got my cup here, and a lot of times what I see with high achievers is we start the day with our cup, almost half full, And all day long, we're just giving and giving and giving, and we're not taking time throughout the day to recharge ourselves. And especially when we don't go to bed on time or we don't get a lot of sleep, again, we're running on reserves. And our body can only run for so long until it's going to be like, all right, time out. Like, I need a break. But we're so driven, right? We're so driven. And this is led by a lot of the scarcity, which ends up putting ourselves in the place of this depletion, of this burnout, of this exhaustion, of the overwork, overwhelm. And eventually we do burn out, or we don't even get there because we end up changing and pivoting because we want results faster. And so because we want the results yesterday, we keep pivoting and we keep pivoting and we keep pivoting. And then we don't ever end up get to the result we're looking for because we keep changing things so quick because we're not getting that achievement piece fast enough and that's what we thrive off of, because that's what helps us keep going is the natural hits of dopamine and oxytocin. So dopamine is the feel-good chemical, and the oxytocin for female high achievers is like that love chemical. We're not experiencing that. And so we keep changing paths to try to keep experiencing that because that's what will feed into our motivation. That's what feeds into our ability to keep going, especially when we're running on reserves. And what I help my clients do is experience the natural hits of dopamine and oxytocin and a variety of other neural chemicals while being able to actually trust the process and actually making life easier and actually creating that 6 figures or 7 figures without the burnout, so you could actually have more time to live life, enjoy life. Because I don't know about you, but for me, I'm like, I've only got one life to live, so I really want to live it to the fullest. And that's also part of why I burnt out, because I like the whole work hard, play hard mentality. And I learned that whole work hard, play hard mentality will only last you so long. And then, yeah, you eventually crash, right? So.
Oh, yes. And when you do crash, it's not a little crash. It's a big crash. And it takes a long, long time to recover. Months, years, depending on the help that you're getting. Definitely. So I know that fear is a big word that came up a lot when people answer the question to go into the Facebook group. So being scared, the fear is a big word. It's a big reality for a lot of the entrepreneurs. And, I get it, because I want to say that, we've had this discussion. I've basically been coaching one-on-one. I've been doing all these things. And I don't know how long you've told me, well, you should be a coach. And I'd be like, she'll crack. And you told me 1 year ago that I would be here and super comfortable on video. And I would literally laugh at your face because that is how nice I am. But the reality is that those small little changes over time made a very big, big, big difference. So I want to say that I understand that you're scared, and I want to say that you are entitled to feel scared. But I also want to say that you don't have to stay there and you don't have to do it alone. I cannot stress this. I have said this every day. Stop doing it alone. Get an accountability partner. Get a coach. There's so many things that you can do to not do it alone. And when I am scared, the first thing I do is reach out to a coach, reach out to an accountability partner, reach out to my husband, and I have to talk it out. And I would say that 9 times out of 10, I hear the bullshit coming out. I hear it. And I know it's not true, but just to say it out loud for me is everything. So anyways, I went on a sidetrack there. So we start from a scarcity mindset, which is totally understandable. Sometimes we hear that we have to do things and we're not okay. We don't feel comfortable with it. So it puts us sort of, let's say, in a bad mindset and a scarcity mindset. So how can we actually make a switch? How can we be more abundant? How can we be more productive? How can we move towards our goal without burnout?
So as I'm going to talk through this, I actually want to make sure and invite you guys to have a pen and paper, which I'm making the assumption that you probably do if you've been here and you've been taking lots of notes, because I want you to pay attention to what I'm sharing with you, what you're some of the internal dialogue that's going to come up with what I say. Because what happens is, so first of all, I want to share something that I remember. This is probably one of the first things I shared with Sophie. And I know that for both of us, when we heard this, our minds were blown. So 90% of your actions, so the things that you do, are running on autopilot by the thoughts that are stored in your subconscious mind. Let me say that again. 90% of your actions, the things that you do, your productivity, your ability to be productive, the ability to take action, stems from the thoughts that are running on autopilot automatically in your subconscious mind. So what happens is that this puts you in a box, puts you in a tiny little box. It's going to, because your brain is wired to keep you in the safe and familiar. So in the safe and familiar is exactly where you are today. And I hate to tell you this, but if you keep doing the same thing you're doing today, you're going to stay exactly where you are today. To get to somewhere different, to create that $1 million business, the $1 million goal, to create more time for your family, to create more time for self-care, to create more time is going to require you to change. It's going to require you to do something differently in order to get there. What happens is the moment that you think about doing something differently, the moment that the fears come up because you're going to do something you've never done before, you're letting your trump what you get to do. Like, for example, going live in a Facebook group, and you're staying where you are. You're staying with the thoughts that exist in your mind. Now, the good news is those thoughts, you didn't create those thoughts. Those thoughts that are stored in your mind were created based on your past experiences, based on your environment, based on what you heard, based on your experiences and the whole broken, corporate model, right? And the thing is, when something repeats itself over, and neuroscience has roughly 67 times, it becomes automatic. So you hear over and over again, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. People will judge you, people will criticize you, da-da-da. From the moment you're born all the way up until the moment now, this is what's firing automatically in your brain and you don't even realize it. That's why you heard Sophie say it before. Sometimes as she's speaking out loud to her coach, or as she's speaking out loud to, like to me, for accountability buddy, or even when she's messaging me, she'll catch the thought because it's so automatic we don't even hear ourselves say it. We have blind spots. That's the power of working with a coach and accountability and talking things out, which is why I love how Sophie's really encouraged you, like, don't do this alone, like no lone wolfing it, because guess what? Lone wolfing it is what's going to run you to the ground, right? All of the multi-million-dollar, business owners out in the world, right? Oprah, Tony Robbins, Richard Branson, they're not lone wolfing it. They have a team. They have coaches too, because just like you, wherever they are today, it's in the box, and wherever they want to go to is outside of that box. So how do we shift that in terms of like, how do we get out of the box? Well, first of all, it's about making that big declaration, you're like declaring what you want to create. Now that already is going to be abundant because it's already going to be more than what you currently have. But if you keep focusing on what you don't have, right, the lack, that's in the box. The box is where all the lack exists. So it is a shift in looking at what is possible. See, there's something in your brain called the reticular activating system. And again, your brain only sees what's really in front of you, what's in the box. But if you were to close your eyes and really picture yourself and connect with the vision that you want to create, connect with the abundance that you want to create, whatever that abundance looks like for you, an abundance amount of clients, an abundance amount of money, an abundance amount of time, an abundance amount of maybe children, an abundance amount of space, an abundance amount of vacations, whatever that looks like for you. You can connect with that and you close your eyes. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what's in the future, what's the present, and what's the past. So with the achievement mindset method I teach my clients, it's activating your brain for that abundant life. And it starts with being mindful of just the words that you're saying or the words that are being said to you internally. You keep saying, I don't have enough time. Guess what? You're not going to have enough time. What you focus on grows. So if you shift into, I have the right amount of time to do the things that I get to do, you're going to experience the release of that pressure. And you're going to start to, okay, I have the right enough time to do the things that I get to do. So what is it that I get to do? What is it that's important to me? See, a lot of times we're out of alignment. A lot of times as women, we have this natural instinct to try to be everything to everybody. And as a female high achiever who is driven by achievement, we tie so much of our worth to our work. Therefore, we say yes to everything. We are trying to be everything to everybody. But saying yes to everything, being everything to everybody, that just leads you to depletion. It leads you to frustration. And you're out of alignment because truly, honestly, do you want to be everything to everybody? Deep down inside, no, but the story in your head is yes. So you're out of alignment. So one of the big things I want to invite you guys to do is get clear with what do you want? And not only what do you want, but why do you want it? And not a surface level why. Like the why that'll make you cry. This is one of my favorite activities I do with my clients when I first start working with them, is getting to the deep in your heart. What do you want? Because the first step is getting in alignment. And even before that, it is just being aware. So part of this is like, I like to call it the ideas model, the ideas, right, from our brain is just, being able to identify what's coming up around your productivity, right? Around the fears, around the doubts, what is coming up? And you really want to get clear of specifically word per word what's coming up. I'm afraid to go live on Facebook because of what people will think of me. Write that down. I'm afraid to reach out to somebody and offer my coaching services to them because of rejection. I'm the fear of rejection. You got to get really clear with the exact wording in your brain. So that's the first thing. The second thing is writing it down. You've got to write it down, not typing. You literally need to write down the exact words that are coming up. Because when you write down those thoughts, it's connecting with a different part of your brain. So you've identified the thoughts, you're writing them down. Now you get to be the investigator. Oh, I forgot my hat. I usually put my hat on. You get to put your investigator hat on. You get to be an investigator. You get to look for evidence where this isn't true. You get to look for evidence of where have you maybe spoken to somebody about your coaching where you didn't get rejected? When is the time that you actually did a video, and maybe it wasn't specifically a live video, but where you did something on a video where you actually got praise, or someone enjoyed it, or people viewed it, or you didn't experience that rejection? See, what happens, like I said before, your brains are wired to keep you in the safe and familiar. So the moment you're going to go out there and do something you've never done before, your brain likes to have a temper tantrum to keep you safe. So you get to get curious about what the internal dialogue is around those things. And I hate to tell you this, guys, but the only way to do that is you've got to do the action. It's in doing the action. It's in the moment that you're going to go press live that this is when that internal dialogue starts to fire. That's where maybe you pause at that moment, write down everything, and then guess what? You do it. Because it's to show your brain evidence that guess what? You can do it. And when we think about evidence, and this has actually it's very interesting that you talked about fear, Sophie, because this has been coming up a lot lately with my clients and a lot of my coaching calls. Think back to another time where you felt that fear, the same fear. Think back to that moment. And connect with how you felt in that moment to kind of make the comparison. And then think about you actually taking action. And then think about what was on the other side of that. And that's what we need to show our brains. We need to show our brains that it's safe what we're doing. And we get to be an investigator to find evidence where you've done something where you felt scared before, and you went through with it, and you were okay on the other side. You got to show, this is what we show our brains. Now, there's a couple other steps to this, and this is what I dive in, with my clients to go a little bit further in this of how we go through this process. But even if you start with this, so I'm just going to close my blind here as I'm getting a reflection by the sun. Even if you start here, this is going to help you get curious to be aware of what's underneath the fear. Then once you're able to find the evidence, you're going to write out what I call like activation affirmations. So not just random affirmations that you Googled online or that you heard somebody say in a podcast. The reason why affirmations don't work is because they're just random. There's no connection to your brain. For an affirmation to actually truly work, and that's why it's a brain activation affirmation, it's a little bit of a mouthful, it's actually taking the belief of when I go live, I will be judged, and saying when I go live, I'm serving others. Or when I go live, people would appreciate my knowledge. Or I have a lot of knowledge to share to those by going live. So it's taking whatever belief that it currently exists and finding evidence that it's not true, and then writing that I am statement. And it's so important that any I am statement you do, it's in the present. And then, this is the last part, this is like the secret sauce, it's scribing it, which we get in two ways. And honestly, I would encourage you to both, because it, again, hits different parts of your brain. It's writing those daily affirmations down and recording it and listening to it for 67 days. Because it takes 67 days to erase and cancel out the story around being fearful of going live, and writing a new neural pathway that gives you the confidence that it's like, no, going live is easy. But it all starts with identifying what those thoughts are. And then it gets to be easy. It gets to be easy. And I keep saying this because this is actually part of my brain primer. Like, it gets to be easy, right? So you're activating your brain for the success that you get to create. You start with your vision. And then what you do is with your affirmations, your brain activations, is basically your GPS coordinates that are going to get you to the vision that you get to create. Erasing the past of scarcity, limitations, and lack, and opening up to possibility. And when we do this, we actually literally truly do open up possibility. Because I know Sophie can speak into this too. Once she got clear on where she was going and she started to do this work, people started to come to Sophie. Me too. People start to come to me, because as you step into abundance, you are releasing that pressure. So those of you that said a little bit of energy work, you understand when there's tension around the lack, I don't have, I should. That creates tension. When you're able to release that tension a little bit and let go, then there's, vibrations. And yes, I study more the science of this, but I also am learning a lot about how light relates to the energy. You're able to let go and let things sort of take shape, and you're activating your reticular activating system, and you start to see possibility that you never saw before. And I think, like, Sophie might want to give her example of like maybe how this took shape for you, just after you started doing this work.
Oh yeah, I mean, night and day. Like, I can't even describe it. So, running a health and fitness business, couldn't sell anything. I mean, there could be a little bit of not being at the right place, not being connected to the why, I was not into the right place. But so Alex messaged me, a year ago? A little bit more than a year ago. I don't even know. And she says, Soph, because I'm really good with behind the scene and I can do tech all day long. And I know a lot. I know a serious amount of stuff. So she messaged me and she said, have you ever thought of being a VA? And seriously, guys, my answer, I don't even know what that is. That's my first answer. Anyways, we started working together, and Fast forward a few months and we have our first coaching together. And I was able to find a superpower. This is might be like a whole conversation for the next time, but I found my superpower and I found sort of like the confidence, like little bits and pieces. But if you told me that I would be here today, I mean, Alex told me and I laughed in her face literally so often. I am so sorry. Oh, I can be so mean sometimes when I'm cranky and I'm set in my ways. So, but just to give you like a small idea of what's possible, within 2 weeks, I booked $6,000 worth of clients within 8 months. With no social media, no website, no nothing, referrals only. As to because I was 1,000% in my superpower and where I should be, I made a six-figure business. So, um, I mean, it's witchcraftery, really.
What?
So
See, the thing is,
crazy.
and you hear, Sophie, high achievers, we really like to be in control.
Yes.
And this is one of the first questions that I ask my clients. Are you ready to trust the process? Are you ready to
It's
surrender?
hard. It is hard for somebody who loves to be in control to trust the process. I'm just going to say this because I've heard it often over in the last year, trust the process. And every time I'm like, no.
But this is, it's the moment that you're able to, and it happens in baby steps, right? Like I mean, even looking at my own journey, right? I see like, oh my goodness, like now I'm like, man, if I knew now what I knew back then, but at the same time, you are exactly where you're meant to be. Like everybody on this call right now, listening right now, you are exactly where you're meant to be. You are meant to be listening to this call because there's something that's holding you back. There's fears, there's self-doubt, there's something coming up for you. You know that you're meant for more. You have the drive. That's why you're here. That's why you chose to be an entrepreneur. That's why you are looking at really finding ways to launch your business, right? Create the life, create the business, create the impact, create wealth. But at the same time, you're also where you are today because of the current programming that exists in your mind, right? A lot of that has to do with being in control. And that's part of also being able to work with someone, right? Being able to say yes to yourself, to making that investment in a coach, to making that investment into the course. See, why Sophie and I love working together, and what I like, especially this year, like business coaches are coming to me because what they're finding is, especially right now, and I just think it's really been it's just with everything going on, right? Like just with everything, like right now, the ability to trust is really, really challenging. So already you're a high achiever, you want to grow this business, but you lack trust. And I want to just talk about this a bit right now with our brains, because I think this is really important to touch on to understand how our brains work. So our brains look for patterns. You have literally millions of billions of neural pathways firing every second in your brain. Your brain uses up a lot of glucose to function, right? So it's going to look for ways to save energy, to save the glucose, so you can use that for other things. So what the brain does, it starts to look for patterns. When you look at this last 2 years of this, just the reality of our world we're in right now, your brain has started to notice a pattern where all of a sudden, right, we're like, we're in lockdown, things start to open up. Oh, we're in lockdown again. Things to open up. Oh, we're in lockdown again. Guess what? Your brain's starting to notice that with the constant changing of everything, your integrity, your ability to follow through, your ability to actually do something that you maybe said you're going to do is really starting to crumble. And so when we look at trusting ourselves, when we look at the control piece, we are now more than ever wanting to hold on so tight to everything, because we've literally, many of us, especially those of us that are like have the commander in us, or the controller in us, we are so afraid to let go because of the unknown, what's happening. So more than ever, we really get to lean and trust this process and really get to connect with what we want. 2022 is around the corner. So you got to decide, a year from now, do you still want to be exactly where you are today? Or do you want to say yes to yourself, trust the process, have a coach, accountability partner alongside you to help you get there? I talked about the lone wolfing before. Lone wolfing leads to burnout. And the reality is you have two choices. You choose to do it alone and you end up burning out, and then you end up not, losing interest, getting exhausted, shifting consistently all the time. Or you say yes. You trust the process. You believe in yourself and know that, most likely whoever, a coach that you're going to choose to work with has been there before. Because I think that's what makes a really big difference. And I think that's the thing to watch out for, right? I personally had been through the process. This is how I built the Achievement Mindset Method, and Ambition Unleashed was born because other female high achievers came to me wanting to know, what did I do? Sophie has worked over this past year with tons of entrepreneurs in the back end to see what is working and what's not working, right? Going through the process. She's done it herself, right? And that's a big difference because sometimes, and this is where we get to be careful, like there's a lot of great marketing out there in the world, but especially right now for your brains and your body, more than ever, you're really wanting to be someone with that you can kind of connect with that, right? Like the connection piece is so important, which is why when you're going out there in marketing and you're going out there to do lives, you want to be your true authentic self. The more you can show up as your true authentic self, the more you're showing your brain, first of all, that you're in integrity of who you are. You're not trying to be somebody else. Then the more people are going to connect with you on that human level versus trying to, slap on a bunch of things and show up on Instagram and be Instagram perfect, which right now are like just the energy and the way things are going, you can spot that from a mile away. What you can connect with is people who are raw and real and being honest with you. So just be mindful of this is what's happening with the brain. There's such this fear, there's such this lack of being able to trust yourself, others out there, because of this pattern that's developed in the brain. The great thing is you actually can erase that pattern. You can change the story. But it starts with being aware. It starts with understanding how your brain works. Remember, right? 90% of your actions stem from the subconscious thoughts that are running on autopilot. And those actions that are running, right, the autopilot determine the decisions you're going to make or not make. And the decision that you make or not make is going to determine the results that you experience. And the results that you want to experience because you're here is outside the box, which means
yes, everybody needs to step outside the box. I want to touch on two things. The last 2 years has been hard. If you are like me and you always keep learning, you research everything. Anyways, so I like knowing things. I don't know if that's good or bad, but we're just rolling with this. So I have read a lot of articles because people are tired. People are really tired. People are saying more and more that they're tired, they're exhausted. And there's something, there's just so much change and stress that your body can take. Right now, you've been, whether you realize it or not, under a lot of stress. It's very different on the body, and that alone makes people tired. It makes people exhausted. So I cannot stress this. Now, I 1000% believe that you have what it takes to make it, but you have to be in alignment. We talked about this for the entire 5 days. If you're going to be launching, this needs to be a launch for you, made for you and for your business, not for Alex, not for mine. It has to be tailored to you, because now more than ever, being aligned matters. I mean, it mattered before, but even more so now that we have experienced all of this stress over the last 2 years. So I don't think I can stress this enough. Now, I know, Alex, you touched on 67 days. Can we dive in just a little bit more? Because there is a big myth out there that creating a habit is 21 days. So maybe we can just touch on this like a little bit more.
So what happens with habits, right? Habits, for them to become automatic, you want it to become an automatic neural pathway in your brain. So I'm gonna use my fingers to explain this because I think this is probably one of the easiest ways to describe it. So right now in your brain, you have neural pathways, like as I said before, that are firing like every millisecond, like they're firing like crazy. And these are all, it's all communication, right? So the 90% of your thoughts, right, running on autopilot, it's just firing. Now, what happens when you take that new thought, right? That activation, affirmation that we talked about earlier, like the new story, the new outcome, you start listening to it. And what happens in your brain is you actually start to form a new neural pathway. Now, what happens around the 21-day mark, well, it's actually anywhere from between 20 and 40 days, you get conflict. And what happens is if you stop whatever new habit you're doing, guess what? The new habit you try to create will detach, and you still have that old pathway programmed. To get to the 67 days where it becomes automatic, where you don't need to think about it anymore, you need to keep on going so that eventually you can erase this neural pathway and this becomes automatic. And that's the challenge with the 21 days. Sure, you can do something for 21 days and you will get into, you'll start to get them a little bit more natural. But the moment at 21 days when you stop a day, guess what? You've reversed, right? Whereas for you to do something where it becomes so automatic that if you miss a day, like life happens, but I know I like to trust that you're going to do it again. It takes that 67 days. And so that's the big myth out there with 21 days is like, you can do something for 21 days, but for it to become like automatic, we don't have to think about it anymore. It's roughly the 67-day mark that's the point where, yeah, you just do it automatically. And I remember that when I first started getting back in my workouts. I remember by around that 3-month period, it was like nothing. And I realized why, like certain workout programs, there's a reason why they are, much longer than just the 21 days. That's why a lot of times it's like, we'll go and do it again, because 21 days will help you create that routine, but it doesn't help create it automatically. And that's what we want, right? We want it to be easy, right? Therefore, we want to not have to think about it anymore. We want it to just be automatic. So that 67 days is the sweet spot for making that automation.
Yes. So when we start working together, that was the first time that I ever heard that a habit took not 21 days, but around the 67-day mark. So if that's new to you, let us know into the comments. Now, I know that you have a gift for the audience. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
So I have my achievement, or I'm trying to think that I always forget the exact, my productivity mastery tips. So, yes. And I've got like the achievement mindset method in my head. I've got my productivity mastery tips, and really these are the top 12 ways to neurohack your productivity to be able to create more time, right? Like that's what we want. We want to create more time and get more done in less time, I guess, so to speak. So being able to really dive into these neural productivity hacks to help you create more time, to help you create more abundance, to help you create and step into the possibility. And so this is what I use with my high achievers who are out there, earning 6 figures, 7 figures, to really be able to maximize their time and be able to go out there and become unleashed and create the success that you were truly meant to create.
That's amazing. Now, do you have a final advice that you'd like to give to somebody that is scared of selling? Something that I've said quite often during this workshop is there's a few things that you have to master before a launch. Selling is one of them, because it does not matter how big your audience is, how many followers you have on Instagram, how many you have on your email list, how big your launch is. Selling doesn't just magically happen. We've tried it. It doesn't work. So what do you have? Because there is a lot of comments in the Facebook group entering. People are afraid to sell.
You know what I love? I actually love this question. So first of all, what's behind I'm afraid to sell? What are all the words coming up, right? Getting back to thinking about the ideas model, right? Again, really run whatever thoughts are coming through to you through that ideas model. You got to get clear what's underneath all of that. The second thing is shift how you're looking at selling. This probably is one of the biggest shifts that I experienced, and I think Sophie experienced this too. You're not selling anything. You're serving. You're being generous. You're connecting with people. The moment you can shift the conversation around serving or educating or helping somebody, the energy in you shifts, right? Leading from love or serving from love, serving from your heart. Because the conversation completely changes. When you start off trying to sell and just try to like give out links, yeah, sure, that is probably just selling. But if you get curious, like what's the person looking for? How can you help them? Just looking at being generous. This is actually some coaching I received several months ago. And I love having this conversation with this coach because, again, those of us that are like having that kind of controller commander piece, we really like to, it's again, that being like having hold of everything, right? And in this conversation, she explained to me, she's like, she just shifted of like, how can I be generous to other people? How can I be of service? And it literally became, and I noticed just in me, there's a shift in that. And so when I started having conversations, it literally is, I get to get curious. What are the fears coming up for the clients I'm speaking to? You know, what is stopping them? What are the stories from childhood, right? Like really tapping into the inner child. What did they hear growing up? And really uncovering, right? We're like human onions. As we uncover one layer, we're getting deeper, and we're uncovering and getting deeper. And that was one more shift, I guess I want to share is I heard about everybody's a client. The moment that they step into your realm, your zone, they're a client. Why treat them any different than a paying client and a non-paying client? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, and this is where you get clear of what your why is. What is your why? What's the purpose behind your business? Why do you do what you do? What's the goal? And if you serve and you lead from love, from heart, from why you're doing what you do, it's just a conversation. You know, you have the belief in yourself that you have something to offer, but it's getting curious and having that conversation. And the last thing I want to lead you guys here with as well, because I think this is really, really, really key to when we're having this like, you know, sales conversation, is getting clear on the value that you bring. Really brainstorm. Look at all your experiences. Like, what is the value that you bring to these clients, to the people that you're having conversation with? Because if you're also not confident and clear in your value, that's another thing that's going to show up. So you got to show up in any conversation knowing that you know your stuff with confidence, that you know that you can help someone and just help them, be of service. And
I love that so much.
Shift the conversation. Again, it's the brain, it's the body, it's how you show up, it's the energy. So that's what I want to leave you guys with today.
I love that. I like to call it, and we've called that as well with Alex, customer service. But I also have like I sort of created a program, right? So we talked about it. I really should have just shown you my bedroom at some point. It is like a sticker madness. But anyways, I have my entire program, but I also have an entire other journey for just people who want to be there, for just people who want to follow me. So there's like a whole journey. So I'm like, I always feel like I'm giving, and I always serve from a customer service standpoint. And to me, it feels really, really good. And haven't talked that much about what I am launching or anything else like that. But if you ever hear me talk about it, one, can't shut up. Two, I am so in line and I am so fired up and I am so excited to give. I can guarantee you that this is not how I felt with my health and fitness journey. Like 1000%. This is not how I felt. So huge shift for sure. I mean, Alex has been with me for like over a year, if not more, right? With the health and fitness. So
yeah.
I don't know how long.
I just want to notice Sophie. I want you to notice her energy, her passion, her enthusiasm. Sophie and I worked together in the health and fitness for a while, and then we started working together, you know, in the realm of coaching, and she was on my team for Ambition Unleashed. But even for both of us, like once we tapped in our zone of genius or our superpowers, that's where it became a little bit lighter and easier, because we knew that there was an alignment with what we were doing. When you are so fired up and you love what you do, it changes the conversation. So again, this is why I invite you guys to get clear. Why are you doing what you're doing? What do you truly want? Why is it important to you? Why do you want to have conversations with people? If your answer to me is to sell, I invite you to go back and ask yourself that question again, right? Shift the energy. You want to be generous. You want to be of service. You want to help people. And then the conversation, when you get in your DMs or whatever it is just to connect. Because maybe your service isn't the service that they're looking for at the moment, but maybe there's another service. Maybe you can make a referral to somebody else that you know that would be maybe better suited for them at that moment. Be of service, be generous, be giving, right? You want to just create that connection, create that communication. We are thriving for connection right now. And that's what people are looking for in the world. So I encourage you guys to connect, be your true authentic self, lead from love, and get really, really curious with what's going on internally that's keeping you in the box. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to stay where you are. So it's going to take you to do something different, to get outside the box and really, truly get out there and create the life and business of your dreams.
I love that so much. Thank you so much. Obviously, we've had Alex slightly longer than planned. Now, if you know anything about me, I am totally like 100% straightforward. So the speaker that's supposed to come on at 11 did not show up. Alex and I can talk forever. I probably
Yes, we can.
honestly keep going for hours. Sometimes we have to put a timer on because we can literally talk all day. I suppose that's what happens when you're in your zone of genius and you're really, really excited. I would say that if that situation happened to me like a year ago, I would have probably shit my pants. Like I would have been scared. I would have been really, really scared, really, really stressed. And I don't know if you can notice or if you'd noticed at all, or I don't care. It's all good. This is an amazing event. I can talk forever. Alex has been amazing, has dropped so much information. So, like learning to be this, I guess this is what Alex would call trusting the process. Like it took me a long time to get here. I just want to say that little baby steps is
I think that's important, right? Look at where you are and stay in the step that you're in. Because of course, we will feel overwhelmed. We feel like we lack focus. Just stay in the step that you're in, right? Look one step ahead of you. So I really want to thank you, Sophie, for having me here today. That's kind of it was a proud moment, to be on here to support Sophie and just watch her grow and develop over this past year. And, if any of you out there are just, looking for, again, that added accountability, connect with me, let me help you and see again, what's coming up. What are the blocks? We're not always aware of what they truly are. And so, being able to identify our blind spots, being able to understand maybe the controller commander piece that's really coming up for you, it really can make a massive difference when you're able to just open up your brain to possibility. So
really done. Thank you so much. Welcome. We'll chat with you soon.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye. All right. So how amazing was that? And if you're anything like me, like I want to say, I get it. I get it. I've always said that mindset was not for me. And now mindset is sort of, a little bit of the program. I will never lie to you and tell you that I'm a mindset coach. I am a complete take action type of person and program, but I recognize mindset. I recognize the mindset blocks, and I'm a changed person. I mean, if you would have told me this a year ago, I would have definitely not believed you. I'd love to know what resonated with you, what little steps are you willing to take to get to your goal, right? And really little steps, right? So, for example, if you want to incorporate a live collaboration like this on your next launch, who here has figured out that I am launching? I am in launch mode. We haven't talked about it, but who here, totally be honest with me, drop in the comments, who here has figured out that I'm in a launch period? If you haven't, it's totally good. This is not about selling. This is about learning. So don't even worry about it. But let's say that you want to incorporate a launch event, words are hard, a live collaboration into your launch event, right? So this is a audience building event. And this is a great event because I get to communicate and I get to chat. So for me as a, being home is everything. I just love it. I love talking to people. I obviously love talking, guys. What is it, like 15 hours this week? It's literally insane. But if you've never done a live, which is where I was last year, I felt uncomfortable just talking into my Instagram stories, let alone reels, all of that. And I totally get it. So my advice to you is to start small and do it more and more, and then do it more often. So this could be, okay, I'm going to go live once a week. Platform is irrelevant. With or without people is irrelevant. If you feel like you may not know what to say, I highly recommend starting with those live collaborations with another entrepreneur, because the discussion back and forth, so you're not necessarily talking for 15-20 minutes, even if it's 5 minutes, it's such an amazing start. So first, and if live is not your thing, you're not there yet, it's totally okay. I will never tell you anything otherwise. It's about little steps. So maybe this step is to record a video and post it in an IGTV or on your Facebook group. There's tons of platform that you could pre-record and make it look like it goes live if that makes you feel better. So you can start with recording video and posting it, and then you can go live. You can go live with platforms with other collaborations, other entrepreneurs, and then you can move up. It doesn't have to take you a year. You can do it in a small amount of time. It's just about practicing. It's just getting into the groove of things. Honestly, I would probably have to dig out the first interview that I filmed for my first event. I did a summit and it was filmed, so pre-recorded, which we can talk about it. I think I have said it before. Live, you save hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours, and you're busy, right? But it is an option. So first of all, I didn't even look at the camera. I think I was looking like this while I was talking. It's completely ridiculous. And the first interview that I ever done, I did not set up my Zoom properly, so it was not speaker view. So instead of the person that's talking, you can see, you saw both of us on the same screen. And I had a little temper tantrum, and my husband literally spliced it up and blow it up so that only the person that was talking was on the screen. Guys, it's completely ridiculous. It's who cares? But I just want to make you feel sort of what I felt then. So I'm just gonna go here. I go here. Yes, I just want to make you feel what I felt. Let's say about, maybe a year ago. Let's do that. Okay, so I want to invite you. Mitch is the man. Mel was actually one of my speakers. Mel is a kick-ass designer. So she's just putting my husband. He is awesome. He is awesome. So Mel is a kick-ass designer, and I'm totally putting you on the spot. So I apologize, but I'll get you a drink next week. So where I filmed my my video with Mel, there was so many edits because laughing, feeling uncomfortable. That interview, I mean, I think Mitch swore a lot during that interview just because we were laughing the entire time. It was a disaster, but at the end of the day, it was still a great interview. It was still a great event. And I don't know that I would be. Yes. So I feel like we have to say it because you're in the comments. So Mel's oven went off. She was wearing a dress. She got up. So the next thing we see a little bit of her butt. Um, so of course this was recorded, so everything was edited, and people were not able to see how absolutely insane it was to film this interview, which was it like an hour and a half, but it was really just 20 minutes. It happens. If you feel like you need to record it so that you have the ability to edit after, if that's where you need to start, that's where I started, then I think that is really, really, really amazing. So I don't know what is happening. See if I can get my next speakers on. Let's see. It happens, right? Like it does not matter if they don't show up. It is all good. But it would still be nice to talk to them. So let me just, there you go. Something like sometimes life happens and that's totally okay, right? Like you can't be mad at it. We just have to keep going. It does not matter. So we're still waiting. So just to give you like quick lowdown of what is happening is that my speakers are not showing up today, and that is okay. There could be just stuck somewhere. Maybe there's a tech issue, internet issue. You literally cannot be mad at this. But anything that you want to talk about, anything that you want to learn today, definitely let me know into the comments. And until then, I will keep talking. So let's talk about selling. We were not supposed to talk about it today, but I want to talk about it. We're going to talk about selling. Who here feels uncomfortable about selling? If you feel uncomfortable about selling, it's because you don't have the right tactic. So if you have a high ticket offer, maybe your best bet is to start with the sales calls. If you have a low ticket offer or you're not comfortable with sales calls, maybe you want to hit with a DM. So something that I like to do is always start with customer service. Maybe you signed up for a freebie. Maybe you signed up for a workshop. Maybe you signed up for a challenge. Maybe you signed up for a webinar. Maybe you purchased something, right? So we have the business bundle, which I'm almost done and releasing that today. I'm very excited. There's a few surprises. So it doesn't matter. Okay. So if you have a service product, you can start with checking in with your people with the products that you've sent, because maybe you want a review, you can give a 20% on the next one. It doesn't matter. Customer service is such an amazing way to open the door to a conversation, to open the door to a potential client. I want to say this is something my coach has said, and it just feels good to me. And I think I've said it before, but just in case you missed it. So if the person is meant to work with you, of course they will. But if they're not, of course they won't. It is okay. I will be the first person to tell you, though I won't stop you. I'll be the first person to tell you that maybe I'm not the right coach for you. And that's okay, right? I'm not going to sell you something that you don't need, that you're not ready for, all of that, right? So that's okay. So just take a deep breath. If this is meant to be, it will happen. And if they're not ready, if they're not your ideal client, they're not going to work with you. Of course they won't. It just makes sense. So customer service is one way that you can use, especially when you're starting and you're just starting with, hey, I know that you downloaded my ebook and I just wanted to make sure that you got it okay and you were able to get some great value out of it. I just want to make sure you got the shit. Literally, this is what customer service is. Did you get your product okay? Did you get your downloads okay? Did you participated in the challenge? Did you see any value in it? Did you get the material okay? You're doing customer service. And that is a beautiful thing. This is your way to open the door. Now, if selling is still making you feel a little bit uncomfortable, this is a way that you can go about it. So when they reply, you have two choices. You're either awesome, I signed up, your book was amazing, your ebook was so helpful, the challenge was off the chart, and you're like, hey, amazing, I'm so happy you got it. Or there's a problem. Maybe they didn't get the ebook, they didn't get the download, they didn't get the email. Well, you get to do customer service. It is perfectly okay. You fix their problem and you're still leaving them with amazing customer service. And that is beautiful. And the way to start and open the doors even more to talking about your program, to be invited to talk about the program, is just to put in the PS, have you heard of my program? Have you heard of this? Have you heard that I had a sale in my Etsy shop? Have you heard of XYZ? You're opening the door to that conversation so they can ignore you. That's fine. People get busy. They're not ready. They don't want to know. That's fine. People can reply and be like, I've never heard of it. What is it? You get to talk about it. Or, yeah, I've heard of it and I've been meaning to ask you about it. Well, you get to talk to it. So that is an amazing way. If you're feeling super, super stuck about, selling, this is the way that you can start today and start to connect with your people. Amazing. So we have a speaker that came on. I'm just going to bring her on. Hello. Hello, Nina. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you for coming. So Nina is a podcast expert for this series. So welcome. I am so excited. I've said it often during this series that I love collaboration. Collaboration for me just makes me feel less lonely, gives me life. I get excited. So as you can imagine, we're talking about 10 tips to be an amazing podcast guest. So that that alone fires me up. I love if we can start and we can just talk a little bit about you before we dive in.
Yes, absolutely. So, first of all, I just want to say how happy I am because I saw that a lot of the speakers are mompreneurs. So, they are my favorite people. And I'm one of them, of
Oh,
course. Yeah,
yes, that is exciting, right? And that is all about
exactly.
juggling maybe a 9 to 5, maybe a side job, maybe like the husband, relationships, the children, the friends. So it's a special gang for sure.
Absolutely. So happy to be here. Thank you.
I'm so happy that you are here. So, should we dive right in? So, guest on a podcast is an amazing way to get exposures to other lists, with other entrepreneurs. So I did put little templates in the Facebook group if you want to start to take a look and maybe make a list of podcasts that you'd like to be featured in. But today we're talking about some tips on how you can be a great podcast. So if you have never been on a podcast or you want to be better at being a podcast, this is for you.
Yeah, so let me share my screen.
Of course.
Okay. Um, yeah, I need some kind of permission.
So you should be able to just click on the share your screen button. It's like a little computer with a line on it, and I don't know why there's a line on it. So if you click on that, then you're going to click on Chrome tab, and you should be able to pick the tab that you have. Oh, it popped up on my screen.
Oh, great.
Amazing. The floor is all yours.
Thank you. Okay. So, have you been on a podcast interview before? Maybe you haven't, and maybe you are seeing some of your peers doing that, and secretly you would like to be one of those people who is interviewed on podcast. Or maybe you just had a few opportunities here and there, and you would like to do this more often. Well, what I want to tell you today is that being a great podcast host doesn't mean that you only have to be great during the interview, but you also have to do a few tricks before and after the interview so that you will be a memorable guest. And I want to help you stand out with these 10 tips. And more than this, you can apply these tips for any other guesting opportunities, whether that might be an Instagram Live, or I don't know, maybe you are teaching in a private Facebook community, or you have a LinkedIn collaboration. So you can take these tips and apply them. But before we dive into this topic, I would like to briefly introduce myself. I am a podcast outreach manager. I focus on helping coaches, course creators, consultants grow their brand awareness and get more visibility through podcast interviews. I live in Europe with my husband, my 2 kids, and my 3 cats. I love ice skating and hiking because, as many of you, I spend a lot of time in front of my computer screen, so I just like to spend some time outdoors. Okay, so my first tip for you would be to connect with yourself. So, know your why. Why do you do what you do? Why do you want to be a podcast guest? And why do you think this is the right medium for you? So maybe you are a mompreneur, juggling, life, and maybe you are also have a business and the 9 to 5, and you don't have time, to put all this makeup on and to do your hair and to show up on live videos. But maybe you have time to record a podcast interview. And also, this is an intimate connection with the listeners, and you are not distracted by all the comments if you go live, right? So there is a different medium for sure. And also, having a clear why in mind and knowing what your mission is going to allow you to passionately speak about your message and your truth. And it's not only about the sales that you could potentially make, it's also about who you are meant to be and who you are going to serve and how are you going to serve those listeners. So it's also important to decide what your goal is going to be. So, do you want to grow your brand awareness? Do you want to build your email list? Do you want to get more clients? Your goal is going to help you come up with a strategy as well. For example, if you are going to launch a yearly program, then I would start booking these interviews 6 months ahead of the launch date, because most of the time you are going to schedule the interview in a few weeks, and then depending on the host timeline, you are going to wait another week until the episode is going to be published. If you are launching 3-4 times a year, I will schedule the interviews on a consistent basis, and I think here is where a waiting list is going to be very helpful. because depending on the release date, that might not coincide with your launch date. So in this case, that waiting list is going to be very helpful. So my next tip is for you to know exactly your customer journey. Why is this important? When you have this customer journey mapped out, once those listeners are going to come into your world, you will already have the plan for you to connect with them, and you will keep nurturing them until they will convert into clients. So if the guest podcasting is at the top of your funnel, you will want to know the listeners what you will want to let them know what is the next step you would like them to take. So you would want to have this clear in mind so that it's going to be easier for them to follow you, to connect with you, and to learn more about you, your content, and your offers. This tip is very important. Prep your message. So I see a lot of people in Facebook group just saying, "Hey, I want to be a podcast guest and I want to talk about anything." But it's not really working like that. You really need to be very clear on your topics and talking points. So, what is your favorite topic that you would like to talk about on those podcast interviews? What is your expertise that you can provide, and how can you provide value to that audience? Maybe you had a major breakthrough that you would like to share with their audience, or maybe you had a mindset shift that was so important and helped you move from point A to point B, and you could help those listeners do the same. Just keep in mind that a topic is very broad, and you will want to break each topic into smaller ideas or talking points. For example, in my case, podcast pitching would be the broad topic, and then I could break it in different story ideas. For example, like this 10 tips, or maybe my 5-step framework, or maybe just one of those steps. So if you need a visual, just imagine an umbrella that is going to be your topic, and then each spike is going to be a story idea. Another tip for you is to create a story bank. So nothing makes you more relatable than sharing stories. When you put yourself in their shoes, when you let them know that you understand them, you understand what they are going through, you validate their feelings, is then when you are going to be relatable and they will start paying attention. And one of the most important stories is your founder story. Because usually at the beginning of every podcast episode, the host will ask you something along this line. So tell us about yourself, how did you start, and how did you get where you are today? So it's going to be a good idea for you to start collecting stories that you are going to use for your podcast interviews. So maybe you use Evernote or just a Google spreadsheet or a Google Doc where you are going to start jotting down those ideas. Then you will want to create your one sheet. The one sheet is just a visual representation of your brand. And I've seen podcast hosts that are asking for this one sheet when you are filling out their form. So it's going to be very handy to already have a one sheet, and you can search in Canva for templates. My fourth tip for you would be to do a thorough research. So, a question that I get often is, where do I start? Where do I find those hosts so I can pitch them and be on their podcast? Well, I would start with a warm outreach. So this means that I will start creating a list with all the people that I potentially know that have a podcast, or maybe they know someone else that has a podcast and they could make an introduction. So maybe you could start with like 30 podcasts, and even if this number may seem high, remember that not all of the people are going to say yes, because sometimes they have their schedule planned out for like months ahead, or sometimes maybe your topics are not a good fit for them. But don't get upset, just keep going, because I'm sure that you are going to land those interviews. And then once you have this list with warm podcast host, then you can just take, for example, one of them. You are going to put it in Apple Podcasts, and if you scroll at the bottom, you will see other related podcasts. So this is here where you are going to start your cold outreach list. And you are going to find a lot of them. But the important thing here is that you need to make sure the podcast is still active. They are producing new episodes. You need to make sure they are taking guests. You don't want to waste your time pitching hosts that only produce solo episodes. And you also want to make sure that their audience is similar to yours, and you will be a good fit for them. This is a very important tip. Please customize each email or DM that you are going to send. So when you are going to start to reach out to people that you already know and you already are connected with, it's going to be a little bit easier for you to personalize that message because you already know them, and you also have better chances to get a yes. But when you are doing the cold outreach, please don't send just a general pitch. I've seen so many pitches that start with just, hey there, or good morning, and then another tactic that I think it's already outdated and maybe worked 2-3 years ago is when you are going to start with, hey, I'd love to be on your show, or I think I would make a great guest, or I would be a good fit because I did this and that. But please don't make assumptions, and don't get me wrong, I am sure you are an amazing person, you are an amazing business owner, but a pitch is not a place for you to brag. A pitch is a place where you start a conversation, where you ask questions, and you let them decide if you are a good fit or not. And if you are not, that's okay. Just move on. And sometimes it's not right now, because I've seen people that are already booked through Q1 in 2022. So I will have to reach out to them again, and maybe next time I'm going to get a yes. And another thing that I didn't put here is don't forget to follow up. People are busy, sometimes they get distracted. So have in place a system that will help you remember when to follow up. I usually send one pitch email and then 2 follow-up emails. And yes, I had people that said yes after I sent the follow-up emails. My next tip is for you to make sure that you have the details of the interview. So finally, you landed this interview, but the thing is that not all of the podcast hosts have a very good system in place. Some of them might have a submission form Others might collect your info as soon as you book the interview, but others will just confirm the date of the interview and then crickets. In this case, you will have to be the one asking for the details. You are going to send them your one sheet, your bio, a headshot so that then they can create those graphics for promoting your interview. And also, you will want to ask them what platform are they going to use, because there are so many options. You can use Zoom, you can use Skype, Quadcast. There are a lot of options that they might use, and if you are not familiar, I would suggest for you to just test the platform before the interview. And then I would like you to ask them about the format of the interview. Is this just a simple conversation, just a natural that will naturally flow? I've seen hosts that will ask the same 10 questions to all of their guests. I've seen guest hosts that will ask for your questions to send them some suggested questions, or they will send them their questions for you to better prepare. The next tip is for you to check your equipment. So make sure that you've already downloaded the app that you are going to use for the interview. Make sure you are sitting in a quiet room. Make sure that you are using headphones and your microphone is properly installed. Also, a strong internet connection is required because you really want to record the best audio possible. And another tip for ladies, please don't wear bangles, especially if you like to talk a lot with your hands. Also, don't wear big earrings or necklaces that might rub against your headphone wire, because they will make some noise and the audio will not be that clear. Tip number 8, be there on time, or actually be early. So why is that important? Because you will want to log into that platform without any troubles. Then you want to make sure that your computer will not require an update that might slow it down. Also, please mute all your notifications, including your phone. Make sure that you have a glass of water near you, and I hope that at this point you already know if the video will be recorded audio or video. Sometimes they just use the audio for the interview, but they might use like a short clip to promote the interview on social media. So please don't show up on your PJs. And also be aware of time zones. I remember the first time I booked a US client on an Australian podcast. I don't know what I did, but I surely messed up the times. But fortunately, the host was so amazing and she was kind enough to reschedule the interview. And since then, I have bookmarked this page where I triple check the time zones, and I make sure that my clients know exactly at what time the interview will be on their time zone. Okay, so here is the interview, and it's very important for you to don't ramble. So while statistics may be important and people will not necessarily remember those, but they will remember the stories that you shared. And here's one of my favorite quotes: people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So, sharing those stories, being authentic, being vulnerable, is going to help those listeners connect with you. And I know that Alex just said this like a half an hour ago, that we need to connect with other people, and the only way we can do this is if we are showing up as our true self. So yes, this is my advice as well. So don't try to to hide behind an image, just be the real you. And here it's also important, I know this from a mentor of mine, and she calls this word vomit. I mean, she's a person that she's so bubbly and so sparkly, and she likes to talk a lot. And sometimes she goes beyond the point of what she actually wanted to share, because she has so many things to share. So please don't be an oversharer. Just stick to the point. Try to be short and concise. And if you need to do this, just keep some bullet points in front of you that will help you stay on the track. And also, if you are just starting with being a guest on podcast, no need to panic. Just be kind with yourself, because we all need to start somewhere, right? And I know that you, Sophie, mentioned that when you did your first live event, your stomach hurt. So for some people, this is going to be the case when they are going to record the podcast interview. But you can ask the host if they are going to edit this interview. Because sometimes, I mean, I recorded a podcast interview last week, and the host told me that I don't need to worry if I will stumble on my words, because they have great editors and they will take care of that. And suddenly, this takes the pressure off for sure. And the more you will do it, you will get better at it. And another thing, you can practice. Just take a friend and jump on Zoom on a call and just practice. And also, at the end of your interview, don't forget to share your call to action. And this one needs to be a consistent call to action. And this means that you are not going to say on one interview, hey, let's connect on Instagram. On other interview, follow me on Twitter. On another, I have a freebie for you. Or for another one, join my Facebook group. What I want to say here is that it's going to be important to keep the same call to action that is going to help you achieve the goal that you already put in your mind at the beginning. And my tip number 10 is for you to send a thank you note after the interview. After all, this host is running a podcast. They will put you in front of their audience that they've worked so hard to build, so don't take it for granted. You can also share a print screen that you are taking after the interview so that you promote them on social media. And it's also a great thing for you to promote yourself. If you haven't done this yet, please rate and review their podcast. They are going to be so happy because all of the hosts love to receive those reviews. Please find out when the episode will go live. Sometimes hosts might publish an episode without letting you know, and others will make it so easy for you. They will not only send you the graphics, but they will suggest you some captions that could go along with those graphics. So all you need to do is to publish on social media and to promote the episode. So stay connected with the host and keep building those relationships. I've seen so many other opportunities developing just from one podcast interviews. So these were my 10 tips. I hope to listen to you as soon as possible on a podcast interview, as I'm an avid listener. So if you would like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram. And also, I have for you 10 questions that you should ask yourself before pitching to podcasts that are going to help you prepare to get better at being a guest on podcast interviews.
That's amazing. So I just put that for the audience into the comments, so you can go and grab that right away. Thank you so much. It makes me think back to the first time where I'll say randomly, but it was the first time somebody reached out for me to be a guest on a podcast. And I want to share that story because I was nothing less than unprepared.
Mhm.
To say the very least. So she reached out to be on a podcast. It was a new podcast. Super, super amazing. And everything that happened sort of took me by surprise, right? I didn't know the question. I did not even know that we were recording the episode when we were talking. I thought we were just chatting.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. So,
But
yeah, so that was an experience.
Exactly. And now you have something to share, right?
Yes, I promise that I will be so much prepared, like, and clear in what is happening. Are we filming? Can we have a quick chat before? So communication is definitely one of the things that I took out from this interview. And to be prepared, yeah, to ask the questions ahead of time. That would be my biggest tip.
Yes, but I think it depends also on your personality because some people, can just go with the flow. Others, like me, would like to be a little bit more prepared.
Well,
So it
that's so
depends.
true because now I can go with the flow. You can ask me any question, but I was so nervous back then, thinking like a year and a half ago. And I was so nervous that I listened to the podcast episode later on and I did not even answer her first question. I think that her first question went all the way here and I just talked. Okay. It had nothing to do with her question. I never answered her question. It was good information, but that question just flew right up.
Yes, also I mean when you are on those first interviews, right? You are all in your head,
Yes.
but you need to just let it go, just breathe, and it's okay, especially on podcast interviews because they can take that out, so you can pause and start all over, so it's not going to be a problem for them.
That's so true. Thank you so much for
I
all of
thank
your
you.
tips. That was amazing. I'm looking forward to doing more collaboration and chatting soon.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for coming on. All right. So I've said it so many times, collaborating is everything. It is so exciting. So I do hope that I hear so many of you on podcasts. And if you're ever a guest on a podcast, please, please, please send me the link. I want to listen. All right. So we got our time straight and we have our next speaker. So I'm just going to bring her on. So
Hello.
this is hello. How are you?
I was just listening to Nina and she's like, yeah, I had someone in Australia and someone in the US and the time zones. I'm like, oh my God, yes.
I was like, oh, that's the story of today. That's all good. Like I said before, I am so like, if this would have happened to me a year ago, I would have been terrified. And today I don't even care. I roll with the flow and whatever happens, happen. It's gonna be amazing regardless. But I'm so excited because listen of this topic. 1.5 $1.65 billion sales in a 12-hour using live stream. Like, I saw this coming into my inbox. I was like, holy shit. So I am super, super excited. But before we dive into that seriously epic topic, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm kind of like an oldie in the live streaming world. I was in college when Facebook came out, and I sucked at social media because it just came out for like picking up people, and I would see everybody's sharing, right? And I would share like my most intimate moments, my pregnancy and things that were going on, and it will be like cricket, cricket, right? Like nobody cared. And then Google Plus came out. Everybody's like, Google what? Right? But it came out, and I was like one of the first 100 people to get invited. And finally, I found my tribe, because who goes into a beta system and starts spending all their time there? All the geeks, right? And I was like, oh my God, I'm surrounded by my people. And we're testing things and we're trying things. And what will happen if, you block me? And what will happen if I do this? And I started sharing. I'm like, hey, if you do this, this will happen. If you do this, this will happen. And I became the G Plus go-to gal. And then Google came out with Hangouts, and we launched the show. There was no broadcasting. Nobody was a camera. I was scared to be on camera. I had, do you remember like those avatars? I think now you have them on the augmented reality, right? Where it's like
yes,
an image. So I was a black man. Imagine a black man with an Israeli accent, all that stuff. But I was really, really not comfortable seeing myself on camera. And then Google launched Hangouts on Air, and they only opened it up in beta. And that's really when I felt the power of the community, because my community came up and said, hey, give her access. And that day I got access to Hangouts on Air, and I launched a show. And I interviewed like really amazing people, like the vice president of marketing of Walt Disney and the former US ambassador to the UN and all these, marketers. Like I popped the Hangout cherry for so many of those marketers. And that wasn't really the thing that made my brand grow. What I did was like I invited the audience in real time to talk to these guys face to face. Right. So I'm interviewing the youngest president of the NAACP, and a journalist from my audience comes up and he's asking questions. And he's like, hey, excuse me, sir, but I disagree with blah, blah, blah. And it was fantastic, like, really great conversations. So there was this one time when Guy Kawasaki and Gary Vaynerchuk were having a hangout at the same time that I was having mine. And I'm like, come on, they have like 60 million followers. I had like I don't know, 30,000 or something. And I'm like, they, probably took my audience. And so I'm looking at the stats, and there are like 4 times more views, more engagements, more comments on my Hangouts than theirs. And I was like, okay, there's something here, right? Like, it's not just the popularity. There's something in the way that I'm running this that actually moves viewers from passive viewers to active participants and get them to comment and engage on all that stuff. And so I started looking into that. I was like, what is it that actually moves people? And I started testing it out. So one of my now really good friends, really famous marketer, copywriter, right, had a software to create all these sales letters and everything. He had a big dead list of about 7,000 people that haven't bought anything, right? They're just hanging there for like 3 years. Yeah, right. It's like collecting dust, and how much we're paying for subscribers, right? So it got like annoying. And he's a copywriter, right? So it's not the headlines, it's not the copy, it's not the persuasion, right? Like people were not taking action. And so we did what back then I called a hangathon. We did like about 10 days of just engaging with them. Turned that dead list into $250,000 in 10 days with like no funnels, no affiliates.
It's freaking amazing.
Well, I'm like, oh, holy shit.
Maybe it's exciting.
Right? I'm like, oh my God, let's test this. Because I was like, is it the magic between his energy, my energy, the way we run it, or is it the system? And so I run it with other people. Same thing, right? Like $100,000 in 10 days, 40% conversion, stuff like that. And I'm like, pretty cool. So what can we do with this, right? And at the same time, I'm running my shows and I'm being an affiliate and I don't have any programs or anything. I'm like, come on, like I'm putting everything out there for free. Why would I charge for it? And then Google has a bowel movement, closes Google Plus, shuts it down,
Oh
right?
my gosh.
And then 7 years of like content and branding and everything, right? Like out the window. So my first thing to tell everybody is this: don't build your home on rented properties, right? So you're sending people right now to like, hey, find me on Facebook or follow me on Instagram or follow my YouTube channel. You want to send them to your website. You want to own your audience because a few things, right? One, platforms close all the time. I mean, just look at Donald Trump, right? Close all the time. For better or for worse, right? But opinions aside, don't build your home on rented properties. The second thing is like there's a gold rush that's happening right now, and you kind of like tapped into that, where a guy in China selling lipstick makes $1.6 billion, right? From a live stream. Billion. I'm like, not 100 million, not 500 million.
So much.
And so I started looking into that because that's how I build my entire brand, right? I build relationships and I build affiliates, I build everything, right? Google flies me around the world to talk about things. Like my entire brand is built on this live stream. And I'm like, I don't know anyone who made $1.65 billion, right? Like that. So I'm starting to look into that. Turns out because of COVID, now companies and brands are actually training people to go live, and they're making a week sales in one day by just random people, not even influencers, right? Going live, doing kind of like the QVC thing. And I was like, okay, you know what? COVID changed the game, right? People are now buying more online. People are engaging more online, but there's still this disconnect because who do you know that sells $1.65 billion, right? Everybody can pull up their phone and everybody does, right? And they're just going live, but the money is not coming in. So what's missing? And what's missing, I believe, is a system, right? Like, first of all, energy on camera. You can totally tell when you're watching someone, right? If you're watching like,
oh my gosh. Yes.
Right? And you're watching it like if you guys gonna like watch lives with no audio, you'll see the energy that I'm talking about. There's a difference between, hello everybody, I am an expert in my field, and today I am going to tell you about all my expertise. Right? Yes. Especially when you're watching it on Facebook or Instagram or something, right? Scroll.
Yes.
Right? So the first thing we need to do is we need to get like that energy, the confidence, and that confidence comes with practice, sadly.
Yes.
Right? Because if I look at my first videos,
yeah, we talked about some of my first videos today where I was not even looking at the camera. Like, God forbid they see me in my face, like,
right? Or people who put the camera on the side, right? All you see them like looking at the screen there. It's like, hello. We're talking. I know you're looking at your monitor, but I'm here. So, right? So the first thing you want is like, look at the camera. It's very, very difficult for people because I'm looking down at you because my camera is above my monitor, right?
Yeah, mine too.
So you wanna start using your peripheral vision, right? Like looking at the camera and kind of like in peripheral vision, you're seeing the other person's reaction. And if you need to do something, put someone else on the screen, do your thing, and then come back to the camera and put yourself on the screen, right? Like just don't do like, yeah, really interesting. And now people are, which is very hard when you're interviewing someone and you're running a show like you're running right now, right? Because you're doing a few things. You're paying attention, you're looking at the comments, you're making sure everybody's there. And so you have stuff to do, right?
Yeah.
So the way to get over that is like, okay, put the guest while they're talking, like you just did with Nina. You put her on the screen, and then nobody notices that you're kind of listening to her, but you're doing other stuff. Because if you're watching this without, right?
This is like 3 hours. I went to use the bathroom, but
I know, right?
But nobody saw it, right? And I'm also answering the comments, chatting with everybody, making sure I have the gifts available. Yeah, there's a lot of things that goes on behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, and so if you're starting out, don't jump straight into this, right? Like jump straight into I call this like the peanut butter and jelly method, and it's in the thing because everybody knows how to make a peanut butter and jelly, right?
Yes,
and it's easy to explain. But how many people forget? Like if you start describing how to create peanut butter and jelly, you'll be like, okay, take the bread. There's no bread. Oh, go to the cupboard. Take the bread, put it on the thing, take it out of the thing. Right? Like there are all these steps, but because it's so easy, then and we don't have to think about it, we kind of like skip a bunch of stuff. So one of the ways to kind of get over your fear of camera is peanut butter and jelly. Just go in and grab someone to do that, right? Yeah. But do it with something that you know. It's not like, oh, now I have to prove to everybody that I'm smart. No, you're walking someone through a skill, right? You're giving them a skill. I'm going to teach you, Sophie, how to make peanut butter and jelly. You go and you do that, right? And now you know that I know because I'm telling you what to do, but you're gaining a skill from this, not just information. You actually have tangible results at the end, which is what I call like a jackpot moment, right? Giving you like, whoo, I did something. That actually helps you use live streams to turn your audience into participants and into buyers. So, wow, we moved from like, how did I start to like, hey, let's give them jackpot moments.
I love that so much. Those are great advices. And we were talking a little bit about earlier about, like you don't maybe start with a big live event like I did this week. Maybe you record your video and you post them, then you go live, maybe live in your stories. You can go live and collaborate with people and go live on Facebook. Sometimes having that conversation can make you feel more comfortable just because you're not just talking, you're asking questions, you're taking it over for me so I can take a break.
Yeah, and you know what? This is, I think, the biggest thing that people don't realize. If you're looking at everybody who started out with video, if you look at Gary Vaynerchuk, or you're looking at Grant Cardone, or Tai Lopez, or Marie Forleo, right? All these big guys, they never talk to a motionless camera. There's always a guy behind it, right? So even when Gary started, like way back when, right? He had the camera crew, they were standing behind the camera. And if he said something, he could see from their reactions whether he's off or on, right? And here we are coming in, going like, oh, everybody's doing live. Let me just go on the phone. And there's no feedback. And because there's no feedback.
It's weird when you get started and you're talking to yourself, right? And you're just like, there was a few thoughts that was going through my head the first few times, like, what am I even doing? I know. Like.
And then they're like, damn, nobody's watching and nobody cares and nobody, right? I shouldn't do it. It's not working well. Like, look, I only got one view. Right? Or the worst thing is like you actually put yourself out there and you are trying to give value, and then some hater comes in and like bashes you out in the comments, and you're like, okay, I guess I shouldn't be doing any more of this, right? And you delete them and you miss out. So the biggest thing for that is to not go at it alone. Because when you go at it alone, you are in your head with all your fears and doubts and everything. And my own mentor says, we can't see our own headlights. So you never know how bright you shine, or if you shine at all, unless someone comes in and goes like, hey, you're on a high beam, lower down, right? But you need that honest feedback from people, because otherwise you're just like, I don't know, I'm blinding people, I'm not blinding, I'm doing. And we don't get that. So if you can bring someone to hold the camera, if you can't bring someone to hold the camera and be in the room with you, invite them, exactly like what Sophie and I are doing. Talk to each other on camera, right? Like go live and be like, okay, I'm going to teach you something today.
Yes.
Right. I'm going to help you with something. And imagine that. Imagine if all the help that you're providing behind the scenes, if you did that publicly. And all of a sudden, you don't need to go and say to people, I know what I'm doing. Because in dinner, I just help someone with something, right? I'm like demonstrating live that I know what I'm doing. And then what happens when people get a win or get a jackpot? Everybody else wants a jackpot. And they're like, ooh, how can I do that? And they're coming in, right? So you can definitely leverage live streaming algorithm because everybody wants you to go live on their platform. Everyone. Facebook is now trying to turn it into a selling platform. Instagram's already doing it, right? TikTok has that. So everybody's trying to be like, okay, come interact live and use this as a selling mechanism. And in China, it's huge, $1.65 billion, right? Huge. So
it's crazy.
It's insane. Actually, I can show it. Let's see if I can, if it's on here. I'm going to put it on my screen right there, right? The absurd stat of the day. King of
lipsticks. Oh my God.
Isn't it crazy? Like you would never think. You would never think like a guy putting on lipstick selling $1.65 billion. Insane. And it happens. So if you go like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do, trust me, people are using live streams to make a lot of money. A lot of money with live streams. So leverage live streaming algorithms. Don't build your home on rented properties. Drive it all to your own website, own your audience, either in an SMS or email or Telegram, and move them from passive viewers to active participants. Because otherwise, they'll just keep scrolling.
I love that. Yeah. So I was talking earlier today that so I teach a lot of the collaboration within my program. I love collaborating. For so many reasons we've talked about for 5 days, so I won't get too much into it, but I did talk that live collaboration was my favorite for the reason that we get to engage with people and that you save hundreds of hours. I mean, that does count a lot. But once you get to a level where you are comfortable talking on camera, talking with people, and this is so amazing because you said it, if you're not comfortable yet speaking about your expertise, I can guarantee you that bringing somebody on, talking about their expertise, you're asking them questions. So maybe that brings you a little bit of confidence, and you're going to see that you're going to want to pipe up with your experience. You're going to see everything, all of these ideas that comes up, and that could be just the little bit of confidence booster that you were waiting for.
Yeah, actually, there is a system, right, to find your audience and engage with them without being salesy. And it's part of the camera bundle that I'll show people how to get access to. But the idea is this. You're going along on social every day, right? Like if everybody sits on the toilet and they're just like doing this, right, all day long. Yes. Instead of just right?
Yes.
Instead of numbing your brain watching other people's stuff. Dude, I was like, the other night, I was like, I cannot believe that for 2.5 hours, I'm in bed watching reels. I'm like, come on, and it's silly stuff. And it's like, ugh. So instead of spending 2.5 hours numbing my brain, you can do the same thing, but engaging in groups that have your audience. So the way to do that is if you're a realtor, find the mortgage guys, right? Like find the parallel groups. Not if you're a coach, don't go into the coaching groups because now you're competing, but find the parallel ones, right? And in there, all you do is you become a problem seeker. You're just looking for problems. What do people love to do online? They love to bitch. What you can do?
That is so true, though. That's true. Yeah.
So we go online to complain. Very few people go online to be like, oh my God, Sophie today solved my problem. Yay, Sophie. Most of it is like, can you believe the software and the support sucks and this food doesn't work and this coach does that and I was trying to do this and this didn't work.
Yeah.
Right? So what you want to do is you want to be the person that finds that problem and offers a solution. Not like, hey, go buy my shit. right? But like, hey, let me actually help you solve this problem and give them the answers. And what happens, you become the go-to person, like I became the G Plus go-to gal, right? Every time someone struggles with something, you go like, hey, she helped me before, go talk to her. Hey, that person did that, go talk to them. And that's how you build relationships, not as like a car salesman, but as a trusted advisor, right? And what happens when you solve one
I
problem,
love that analogy. Yeah.
right? If you solve one problem, now there's another problem, right? Because, okay, we solved that one, now what? Now what? Now what? Eventually, that now what, the delight, the continued delight is what they pay for.
That's
And
so
that
true.
gets, right? And that gets into the pricing formula.
There's a system for everything. And I will say that once you find a system that works for you, there is a lot of comfort that
Yeah.
comes into knowing what works for you, especially. So because like there's so many entrepreneurs that goes from one way to the other way to the other way to the other way because they never really found either what works for them or they haven't tried to do it enough and they haven't tweaked it for it to work for them. So finding what works for you is beautiful. I know you also have a freebie for the audience. I'm gonna go grab the link if you want to tell us about
Yeah.
that.
Actually, I can okay. So let's talk about money, right? There are 3 ways for you to increase your income. 1 is getting more clients. 2 is selling more products. 3 is increasing your prices. Uh what most people do, they get into the lead game, right? The acquisition game. Hey, let's get more leads and get more, right? Or let's sell more products. How do we sell more products? Very few people actually increase the price or charge what they're worth, really. Because especially when people start out, what they're going like is like, oh my God, if I'm going to charge $50, I need to give them like 50 hours of video and tons of quizzes and worksheets and everything, right? And we forget that the product is actually the obstacle on the way to the result, right? So if I want these results and I'm here and you're going like, buy my product, it will get you there. Okay, how much time is it going to get me to go through entire product to get here? I want results like that, right? And the value is not in the more stuff, is actually in what's it worth to me, right? So if you come in and I'm one of my clients, right? He is great with the script and Camtasia and stuff like that. And he goes like, oh, I'm going to go and create a course about the script and how to use Camtasia and all these hacks and stuff. And I'm like, how long will that take, for me to go through all that stuff? What if you can show me 3 things where you can cut my editing time by half? And all I have to do is watch this 30 minutes video. Here's $100, dude. Like, you just saved me half a day every time I went to edit a podcast, right? I'm like, I don't need hours and hours. And that is the biggest problem when people are starting to price their things. They're not looking at it from like, hey, what do I need to make, right? Like, what do I need to make a month for me to make a good living and actually be able to mentally support my audience and my clients and not be in the content attention grabbing game. So they're first not even looking at like, okay, what do I need? And then they're not looking at the value. So there is a very simple formula, and I can share it here. If you do full screen, they can see it.
Oh, here we go. I'm just going to remove myself so that we can see all of your screen.
Whole thing. There you go. There's a very simple formula, and you guys can grab that in the link that Sophie shared. It basically shows you very, very easily how to increase your prices and actually what to charge specifically to what you're selling. And it's very easy. It's right here. It's super quick. It won't take you forever to do it. There are no quizzes or anything like that. It's completely free. So all you have to do is go to the link that Sophie is sharing. Oops. And click here and just grab it. And that's it. And in like 5 minutes, you will know exactly what it is that you should be charging, what will people pay for you, and how you can cover all your Christmas shopping, because I know you're going to have a lot of Christmas shopping.
Oh my gosh, how freaking amazing is that? I am super excited. I'm going to go check it out. I love learning.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you so much for coming on and being flexible with us today. I appreciate you so much, and I look forward to chatting some more.
Thank you so much, Sophie, and thank you for being so flexible. Sorry about the mix-up.
Of course. And I believe you are in the collaboration Facebook group. So if anybody has any question, either go to the freebie, make sure we can connect with you, and or post your question to the Facebook group. And I'm looking forward to chatting some more.
Likewise. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh my goodness, how absolutely amazing and exciting was this. So I hope you're feeling like maybe a little bit more comfortable or maybe a little bit more open to the idea of creating video for your business. I'm just going to bring Carol on because we have our next speaker waiting. Hello, Carol. How are you?
Hi, I am doing well, and thank you for your patience with my interruption today.
No worries. I was saying, you know, like if this would have happened to me like a year ago, I would have been so scared, so stressed. And today, I mean, it is part of maybe reflecting, like reflecting back in seeing how far I've become, because today I was a breeze. It's like
That's
it didn't
awesome.
even happen. We got our times all wrong today, guys, and it's like it didn't even happen. I can talk forever. I'm having a blast, and I'm so happy that we're here. So I know we are talking about how we can be a great resource manager, but before we jump in, do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, I would love to. So I am a multi-business owner, global investor, internationally. Businesses are international as well as in the US. And I'm a speaker, coach, and consultant. I'm a certified master neurocoach, and I absolutely love bringing transformation to people through a simple neuroscience-based process. So I combine neuroscience with the principles of wealth to bring exponential results. We learn things that were not taught in school about money, how it works, how the wealthy operate, and it's very different. That's one of the reasons that, you know, the top 3% in the world are the top 3%, because they operate by a different set of principles. So I combine that with rewiring your limiting beliefs to your success beliefs. So yeah, that's a little about me.
Beautiful that you can take, you know, the brain piece. We talked with Alex this morning, so I think the audience understand a bit more about what happens in the brain and the unconscious and the habits that we've created over time. But you really understand that to be comfortable with money, you not only have to change, you know, the way you think about money, but you're also educating about money. And that is big, because not understanding something can create a lot of overwhelm, a lot of fears. So that is amazing. Now we're talking about resource manager today. So what is a resource manager?
Oh, great question. Yeah, I want you to know the huge benefits of being an excellent resource manager. And a resource manager is somebody who manages resources. So take a look at your assets, your time, your money, and where you are right now. Your skills and abilities are a part of your resources. Inventory your resources. Take a look at them. Write them out. One of the things that I have done, and that I know a lot of people do, is we bury our heads in the sand. We don't take a look. We're like, it'll be okay. We have all this resistance to actually looking at our resources. And today I'm really going to dive in and speak about money. We don't want to budget. We don't want to take a look. And so we don't really know what we have and where it's going. and what we're spending it on, what we're bringing in. And a lot of times we're not bringing anything in. So we get scared, fear comes up. I don't want to look at what I'm spending because I know I'm not matching it with income, right? And when we talk to business owners in particular, when you bury your head in the sand, you don't have a business. Because the definition of a business is bringing value into the marketplace. And, you don't want to, if you're not bringing value into the marketplace and you're not receiving money for that value, then you don't have a business. You either have a charity or you have a hobby.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love that something that, we don't do is we don't budget accordingly because we haven't gone back to know what we actually spend. So the budget may not be realistic to life.
Yeah. And budget's a trigger word for a lot of people, myself included. I don't like the word budget. When somebody says budget, I'm like, that's extra work to do. And I got other things to do, right? So we use it as resistance. And a big part of that, which I'll talk about in the wrap up, is that's our brain's way of keeping us safe, right? But in terms of the word budget, the first thing I want to bring to you is Pearson's Law. It's one of my principles. Pearson's Law came out of the field of statistics. And what Pearson's Law did for me was it motivated me big time because it states that what you measure improves, what you measure and report improves exponentially. So even reporting to yourself, not burying your head in the sand, taking the action to get clarity on where you are with your resources, sitting down and taking an inventory of your resources is going to, according to this principle, improve them automatically. So there's a reward for going and taking a look. And that reward piece is huge because our brains love reward. And I don't feel rewarded with the budget. I feel like, I got to go do all this stuff. But when I think about it in terms of taking a look and reporting it, and that improving me exponentially, that's when I get excited. I'm like, yeah, I can do that.
Okay, I love the way that I love that. I've never thought about it this way, and I'm always big with the business, not in the finances, but with the business is look at my number, obsessed with, making things better, improving things slightly, because anything that you improve slightly is a big over time, but I've never actually done that with finances. So that's such an amazing advice.
Oh, I'm really glad. Yeah, it's been hugely motivating for me and my clients it's a shift in our thinking, right? It's transforming our thinking to a thought that serves us. And the thought of me looking at my finances and it rewarding me, that's a thought that serves me.
That is so true. I love that. Oh, that's so exciting. So hopefully everybody is all excited about looking back and just reporting the numbers.
Yeah. Oh, you're frozen on me. There you are. Oh,
did I? Let me know. Am I good to go now?
You're back. Good to go.
Okay. That is good. So what else can we do as a resource manager?
So great question. Second principle I want to bring is something you just mentioned. So it's perfect transition. You mentioned taking small steps, right? And that leading to consistency, that consistency rather leading to results. So small steps do lead to big results. And the principle behind that is a principle that operates in nature. So whether we follow it or practice it or not, it's still out there as a principle. And it's the Pareto principle. It's the 80-20 rule. So one of the ways that I help clients to look at that is that it's a ratio, right? And it can be any ratio. It doesn't have to be 80%, 20%. It could be 40, 60, it could be 30, 70, 90, 10, whatever the ratio is. But the point of it is that rather than 80% of my actions producing only 20% of my results, I want to shift my thoughts. I want to shift my thinking for those thoughts that serve me to start applying the principle and making 20% of my actions produce 80% of my results. So that's another huge benefit, of being an excellent resource manager. So we know what we have. We know what we're doing with what we have, what actions we're taking, and we're really focused on those thoughts that will serve us by working less in order to produce more.
That is so exciting. Yeah. So, and I feel like everybody can feel you right now because they're thinking, if you've ever thought, I worked so much this month, and I'm not seeing the results, right? So this is literally shifting and doing completely the opposite, and not only working less, but having more results.
Yes, absolutely. And you bring up such a great point. Busyness is a stopping point in our brain. It's a way of our brain keeping us safe rather than moving forward. Yeah. So guilty. So guilty. And, it's one of the things I've had to shift because of being in the hotel and hospitality industry. I was really getting burned out. And that's a part of my story. I was widowed overseas, had a successful hotel that I immediately had to step into operation for in the middle of high season with a staff, fully booked, all these awards, and I began to shut down, right? Because as Alex spoke about earlier, I was just working rather than applying the work that I do in a very concentrated, intentional way that produced more for me.
Yeah, that's so true. That's incredible. Yeah, so I think that everybody can sort of feel it, especially over the last 2 years where our body are feeling the stress over and over and over and over, and daily we have to be so careful. And I know the word burnout could be a trigger for a lot of people, but we have to be so careful because it is the opposite of what we want to do. So regardless of if we're talking about money and business and life, we got to make sure that that is not the road that we are on.
And especially when you're thinking about launching your business, launches can be very busy, a lot of work, as can the summits, So look at your top 3 goals every day. Keep it limited. Start practicing being super intentional. And always look at every action you take is what is going to make the rest of the dominoes fall. What is going to make everything else easier or unnecessary? And that's a quote from the book, The One Thing with Gary Keller, by the way. Excellent book.
Love that book.
Yeah.
Yes. It's funny because when I first heard of The One Thing, I was like, is he nuts? But once you read the book, though, he explains it in depth, and it does absolutely make sense. So that is a great book.
Yeah. Everything you're doing, you want to keep in mind, especially with my field, working with the principles of wealth and business, when you're going to launch, when you're going to start your online business or going to create momentum in that business, it's really important to be intentional about what your goals are so that your journey is a journey that benefits and blesses you. Because our lives are about the journey, right? When we lay on our deathbeds or when we lose somebody, it's not necessarily about the goal. The goal is a target. And as we take the journey, as we go through the process, we get stronger and stronger, and we're able to set higher and higher goals. And so it's really important to be intentional about life rather than reacting to everything that comes along. And when you look at it through that principle of how is this action I'm taking making everything else easier or unnecessary, that's a great question to ask to think about the Pareto principle. Is 20% of my actions producing 80% of my results? Is 10% of my actions producing 90% of my goal? You get to set that ratio. It's totally up to you. James Wedmore, through Business by Design, his is 5%, produces 95% of his results. And when we do that, what that allows is it allows us to play bigger. It allows us to scale and grow and to do things beyond what we thought or imagined were possible, because we have the resources concentrated in our resource management to be able to do the things that we want to do and to go for the bigger goals and dreams. Yeah.
I love that. That's amazing. And I love it because it really goes back to being that resource manager and taking a report, so you took a report of your numbers. Now you're taking a report of what action actually creates the results, and which action just kept you busy.
Right. And which one, what's getting in the way? We can even use learning. I love to learn, but we can even use learning as a block to our growth if we're using it to keep us busy. And
that's true. I'll do this when I learn how to do this, or I'll do this. I need to learn this, and this before I do this. At some point, you have to sit down and be really, really honest with yourself, and start to take action. Action is the bridge. Action is the bridge that gets us out of our way. And I'll speak about that in just a minute. I want to share the third point of being an excellent resource manager when you're starting your business or in your business. And this is something I've been very guilty of as well and have shifted in my life with massive results, and teach my clients this. Pay yourself first. Absolutely pay yourself first, because it's a principle that comes out of Parkinson's law. So what Parkinson's law is it states that all the time we have available will be used up, right? And you can look it up online. So it's the same with our bank accounts. There will always be a need. There will always be an expense. There will always be something we can spend on. So this is where we get to also be very intentional. We get to choose thoughts that serve us. And in order to bring the value to the market that we're bringing, we get to put ourselves first so that we can. So we're in a healthy place to do that. I love that. I love that so much. And we are most likely the worst. And I can speak for a lot of people when I say this, but we tend to always put ourselves last, just like self-care, just like we put all of our family ahead of things. So that is a great, great, great advice. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Yeah, it's I think especially with women and especially with people, all human beings who have a heart of service, it's really easy to forget to fill our own cups so that we can be in a healthy, strong place and we can do more. And again, everything that I'm providing and talking about is so you can grow and live the life that you want to create. As we are all where we are right now because we are the creator of our reality. We are all where we are right now. We have what we have in our bank accounts. We're doing what we're doing because of the way we think. And as the creator of our thoughts and the creator of our reality, this is where you can take the time to transform your thoughts. And this is one of the things I do through the neurocoaching process, help you to transform your thoughts. So what do you want? Do you want $1 billion? Do you want $1 million? What is it that you want? Because we can get you from there, from where you are now to there by transforming the way you think, so that you're having thoughts that serve you, that serve your goals, that serve you in your life, in your health, in your finances, in your career, in your relationships, in your spirituality. And here's the really cool thing. So I've given you some amazing principles about being an excellent resource manager. Pearson's Law, the Pareto Principle, and paying yourself first, right? There's so much more, and it's beautiful. And the reason that those principles work is because we transform the thinking. We shift the thinking. So we remove the limiting beliefs, we get those out of the way, and we wire in the success beliefs. And our limiting beliefs aren't our fault. They come from others, from our childhood, from our experiences. So you get to start from a place where you're no longer living from the experiences that you've been through. You're able to learn from them. You're able to glean from them and take the really powerful points. And you're able to live according to your future. So you get to act and start making decisions from who you already are when you are having what you want. And then you're not repelling it, because I'm leaning into this now recently. We can repel what we want to attract because we can be in this place of wanting and lack rather than knowing. So shifting to those thoughts that serve us is us making decisions from where we already are.
I love that. I feel like everybody right now watching or that's watching the replay are going to be dreaming and dreaming so big. And that is so, so, so beautiful. I want to thank you so much. I know that you also have an absolutely amazing chance of a lifetime free gift for the audience. So I'm going to grab the link, put it into the chat, but if you can give us a bit of details on it.
That is a free strategy call. So you can get on the call with me. It is not a sales call. It's really to let you know that there is a strategy for you. There is a win for you. And we'll paint that together. And I can't wait to see what happens for you when we do this. So reach out to me.
Me too. Thank you so, so much, Carol, for coming on today, for taking some time, for letting us dream big. And I thank you for being flexible as well. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I do want to share also that my new group program is releasing on December 6th in 2 weeks. It's the Diamond Transformation. Thank you. And the Diamond Transformation is all about that combo of the principles of wealth and neuroscience to bring you exponential results in your life. Yeah.
Oh, I am so excited. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience today. I really appreciate it, and I enjoyed being here with you.
Thank you so much. We'll chat with you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, so we are just about to wrap up literally 15 hours of strategy, 15 hours of tools, 15 hours of resources that you can use on your next launch in your business and over the next few years within your business. I'm so excited that you joined me. If you have any questions, you're so welcome to drop it in the comments, and I'll come and answer every single one of them. I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for taking a step for yourself and for your journey and for your success. I cannot wait to chat with everybody into the Facebook group over the coming weeks. Everybody have a nice Friday.